the channel, we take a trip in the time machine back to 2015. Truly, what a time to be alive for the San Diego Comic-Con Marvel Legends Ant-Man Deluxe Box Set.
And the spirit of Ultimate Warrior will run forever!
Welcome everyone, Kyle here, and welcome back to the channel for another Marvel Legends unboxing and review. And today on the channel, we're throwing it all the way back to 2015 in San Diego Comic-Con for the Ant-Man, Giant Man, Goliath, Hank Pym, Scott Lang, whatever you want to call it, exclusive. But remember, for all your Marvel Legends needs and a whole lot more, make sure you're hitting up Entertainment Earth. Use discount code Kyle. Save yourself 10% on all in-stock items. Anything over $79 does ship free. Got to get a deal out there. And of course, we're going to do this review like we do all the other reviews on the channel. We're going to take a look at the packaging. We're going to talk about it. We're going to unbox it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to see where it goes from there. And very interesting timing. I've had this in my collection for years at this point. I do have a bookshelf back in my storage closet, I guess, in my house, whatever you want to call it. And it's full of stuff that I've been doing long game unboxings on. Whenever there's a little downtime or every once in a while I have some time, I hit up a long game unboxing. And this is one that's been poking around there for years. So I finally got around to it, and I figured now's probably the time to get after it, as we just recently had the Hasbro HasLab announcement of course, Giant Man coming to Marvel Legends, I guess 2024, but as we're filming this right now, the pre-order is up through October 23, so if you want to get a giant figure of Giant Man in your collection, you can get after that. But I figured now's the time to finally get after this one. A little Ant-Man, a little Giant Man, a little bit of everything in this pack here, and a very, very cool San Diego Comic-Con exclusive back in the day. Definitely some repaints, some reuse, and a little mix of lines here. We'll see that here in a bit of a second, but definitely an interesting packaging design, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to start off with the old packaging design on this one. First thing you notice is these cool antennas on Ant-Man, and they do move. There is some movement in them. You can put them however you want to. You can hide them behind here. You can put one up. You can do whatever you want to do. Very cool. I like that little attention to detail. Just very, very fun box design. Of course, the big old Ant-Man head screaming there, looking really, really cool. Got the warning down there. Got the Hasbro, of course. Very awesome. On the sides, nothing really going on any of the sides of these. But then on the back, you get the Ant-Man at the very top. And then you get a little bit of circle here and a little bit of cross-sell of what's in here. So you get Marvel's Goliath. There's Hank Pym. You do get Hank Pym in the 3 3/4 G.I. Joe style. Of course, remember back, there used to be a Marvel Legends line of those. And then you got Giant Man, Hank Pym right here. Ant-Man, Hank Pym, Ant-Man, Scott Lang. So a little bit to keep track of right there. And I do have this real handy right here. Real handy like 3 3/4, of course, Ant-Man as well. Definitely cool, and I'll probably unbox this along the ride here as well. So a lot going on in this set here. There's no doubt about it. And then you do get a beautiful Velcro with the power of Velcro. We love Velcro. And we got that going on, and look at that. You open it up, you got the blurb on the inside, you got the big window box there, showing all the figures. Definitely a cool set, definitely one of those sets that looks really good in box, and I normally don't keep a lot of the packaging. I dabble in some packaging. I'll be keeping this packaging. But we do get a little blurb right here. I'll read that real quick. He would prove them wrong. He would show them that imagination means something, that science can make the impossible possible. His discovery will change commerce, combat, and travel. These particles, Pym particles, will change the world. So how about that? But let me take this offline. Let me get all these guys out of the package, and we'll be back talking all things Ant-Man, Goliath, Hank Pym, Scott Lang, you name it, we'll be talking all of it. All right, we got everybody out of the package. Let's go in size order. We'll go from smallest to largest. How about we'll do that here? And today, we're going to start with these little pieces. I don't even know if you can really call these figures, really, at the end of the day. But we do got Ant-Man 2 versions here. We got Ant-Man Scott Lang, and we got the Hank Pym one here. And it's just a little representation of Ant-Man. He shrunk down with the particles, ready to go. So you can put this in a hand of another Avenger. You can put this somewhere you want to. Same thing with the Scott Lang edition here. A little bit taller in the Scott Lang department than the Hank Pym department here. But just both, I don't know. I struggle to call these figures, I guess, non-articulated figures, statues. I don't know, but it is a cool throw-in. Of course, you're going to shrink these guys down. You need different representations on the size, so I'm definitely here for that. Now we turn our attention over to the 3 3/4. Remember, I had that second Ant-Man out to the side there, so I unboxed that as part of this one here. 3 3/4 style was all the rage in the 80s when I was collecting my G.I. Joes back in the day. However, in this day and age, I'm more of a 6-inch scale, 7-inch scale figure aficionado, we'll call it, but I still got a lot of good memories about the 3 3/4 days. However, I never collected the Jakks Build and Brawl 3 3/4 wrestling figures. I never collected the Marvel Legends, Marvel Universe 3 3/4 figures as well. I did pick this up in a toy store, dirt cheap on clearance, probably about the same time I picked this up years ago, just kind of put it in my closet. But it was very cheap, damaged card, but I figured, you know what, I'll display Ant-Man, I'll have him in his different sizes. That's why I bought this one, and I'm sure I'm not the only one to do that with this one here. But it's definitely Ant-Man, definitely an old-timey feel to a figure. It really feels, I think this was made in the 2000s, but it almost feels like late 90s, Toy Biz figure style almost is what it feels like here. But we got plenty of articulation. You do get the hands side to side. You do get the single jointed elbows going on there. You get a bicep cut, arms all the way around, head back forth, side to side, ab crunch at the top, no traditional waist. Got big old splits if you need them, thigh cut, single joint, nope, double jointed knees, and then you get ankles back and forth, and they will fit on a 3 3/4 peg stand if you need to. Definitely classic Ant-Man. You know who this is when you see it. You got the Ant-Man head going on there, a little bit of a human skin showing through underneath the helmet, a little bit of blue eyes action, and then you got the red, blue, and black in the costume here. Definitely hits home. You definitely know who this is, and you can be powering Ant-Man down right there. So he's got a little up to a little bit bigger, and then you get the direct big one of this, which of course was a Build-A-Figure. A lot of people are clamoring for many years, and as we do know, we're getting a new Ant-Man Build-A-Figure, Giant Man Build-A-Figure all these years later from Hasbro on Hasbro Pulse as we speak right now. So definitely cool to see that one right there. And then we do get Hank Pym. So we get one very similar, but a little bit different. It's actually the exact same figure going on here. Exact same figure. The only difference is the suit coat arms, and then of course you do get the overcoat on the top here. Down to the blue gloves, everything. You get a lot of reuse between these two. He does come with the second head, which is identical to this Ant-Man head. So to me, I have no use for this head. I'm going to keep this Hank Pym head on here instead. But this is laboratory Hank Pym. He's working in the lab. He's getting after things. A little hard to understand because this is a 3 3/4. I guess you could say, hey, he was shrunken down and he's working in the lab as he shrunk down. I don't know. It's all about justification and how you want to set your display up at the end of the day. But definitely an interesting one in the Hank Pym persona. Same articulation as that one, as I did say. So we do have that going on. So there's the little figures. Now we're getting to the scale we know and love. Oh, yes, the Marvel Legends scale. And man, oh man, getting this guy out of the package here and feeling this, I just can't help but think, man, how far has Marvel Legends and the Hasbro team come? Man, oh man, these old style figures from the early days of the Marvel Legends Hasbro days, definitely a far cry from what we get right now. Of course, we're getting pinless joints on a pretty regular basis right now. We're pinned at this point in 2015, and definitely this one showing the weaknesses of the old ways of doing things. A little bit loose, a lot of paint coming through. Of course, you got the blue base with the yellow over the top. Needed more coats of yellow paint across the board on this one. As you can see, the blue seeping in through the yellow. Just definitely looking a little bit sloppy. It almost reminds me of Kyle when I had an extra Toy Biz as a little kid. I got the paints out and tried to make my own Captain Britain figure. It kind of felt like this in a lot of ways with some of that paint bleeding through and stuff. It just definitely doesn't feel the quality of what we expect with Marvel Legends right now, but maybe 2015, a little bit more acceptable, I guess you would say. So I got to look at this, try to look at this through 2015 eyes. But this is the only Goliath figure in my collection. Like I said, I did not have this one here. Definitely definitely looks interesting. The blue and yellow attack looks good. I always love those color combinations together. Got the goggles going on. Almost feels like a Cyclops figure repaint in some ways. But you got the striping throughout going on here. Of course, articulation, usual Marvel Legends. Arms go around. Bicep cut. Double jointed elbows. Hands back, forth, side to side. Got a Fist of Fury and a gripping hand here. You do get a big old ab crunch, but man, this is about the ugliest ab crunch ever. You can see all the way through. So you can like see through the figure because the ab crunch is so wide, it isn't tight enough. Just the way it was, I guess, back in the day. Waist articulation, big old splits, thigh cut if you need it, double jointed knees, boot cut, ankles back, forth, side to side. Definitely feels like home, feels like a Marvel Legends, but boy, definitely leaving a lot to be desired, especially looking at it in 2023 eyes. Would have to imagine we're going to get an updated Goliath one of these days, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with that big HasLab. Will we get a Goliath? Will we get reuse out of that down the line? It'll be interesting to see what happens with that one there. Does he fit on a ringside collectible Mattel stand? What do you know? He fits like that right on a glove. Perfectly like a glove, I should say. Looking good there. It is Goliath. It is what it is. That's what I'm going to say right there. It is what it is. However, we do have another Hank Pym figure here. This was a recent release we just got. So we can kind of bring it all back home a little bit. But you got the, this was part of that Amazon exclusive Avengers box set, West Coast Avengers box set. So we do have that there to kind of compare these guys to a little bit if you need to. So there it is. There's a little Goliath. And now we turn our attention to, I would say, the main event here, the old Giant Man figure. And once again, feeling very, very limited. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I wasn't collecting at the time, but this is part of this line. So this is kind of the scale of the Giant Man. It's supposed to be against the 3 3/4 figures, not necessarily against the 6-inch figures on this one. However, a lot of us do use these together with the 6-inch. That does work for a lot of us, myself included. And I do, of course, brought this Giant Man, of course, the 6-inch one out, so you can kind of have a little yin and yang, have side by side. He's growing, he's getting bigger, he's doing his thing, so we do have that. But definitely different, definitely interesting. I do have a Super Skrull in my collection from the same line. Feels identical to this. Of course, getting the most out of your molds. We know how that goes, and we see that with here. But it is Giant Man. You got the very Daredevil-like head. The biggest difference, of course, going to be these big horns out the front, or antennas, whatever you want to call them, on Giant Man right here. You got the red and black attack going on. And what I do like is the upcoming HasLab is different to this one. So there's still a place for this in my collection. There still will be. So definitely cool there. But definitely red and black attack throughout. Very much Spider-Man, Daredevil, Deadpool-like in a lot of ways, but definitely a cool one. He's got an open hand going on. He got a Fist of Fury as well. Articulation. The arms go all the way around. Listen to that tight ratcheting. That is tight. So we get that all the way around. You do get a bicep cut. Double jointed elbows. Hands back, forth, side to side. Head up, down, back and forth. He does got a little bit of a slope down to his head with that big neck at an angle. You do get waist articulation. Very tight once again. You do get an ab crunch going on. Very tight articulation across the board. Not against that though. Not a lot of side to side out of the legs. You do get the side to side as far as that goes. Oh, there we go. Oh, just had to break through it. There it is. I had to break through. Boy, very tight joints on this, which we always say we'd rather have tight joints than loose joints, so we do get movement out of the leg there. Do get the bicep, or I should say thigh cut on this one. Double jointed knees, once again, very tight, and then ankles back, forth, side to side. A big, dare I say, Giant Man at the end of the day, but definitely a cool one here. Definitely glad to finally unbox this one. It only took me literally an eternity, it feels like, but here we are today. Going to add this to the collection. I don't know how I'm going to display it yet. I'm still not sure how I'm going to display my Giant Man, as we do know Giant Man's going to be about, oh, this tall or so. He's going to be taller than this guy, so that's another thing. Different scales, but that's the cool thing. When they grow to different heights, things like that. You can have this Giant Man against Ant-Man, Giant Man. There is a Goliath like this as well, which I'd like in my collection. Maybe I'll get that one of these days. Now I kind of feel the hype for some of these giant characters where I'd passed on them in the past. Well, that's what happens, and I'm sure the pricing is going up on some of these guys, or possibly down, especially that Toy Biz Ant-Man Build-A-Figure. I got to think the pricing is going to go down on that one, as people will be selling that to fund the brand new one, or maybe people will be happy enough with the old one. You just never know, but definitely interesting times in the giant game, that's for sure, and everybody loves a giant at the end of the day. But there it is, the San Diego Comic-Con 2015 box set. Let me know your thoughts on this one. Did you pick this up back in the day? Are you playing the long game still like me? You just have this in a closet somewhere. You're finally getting around to unboxing it. Let me know your thoughts on this one. Out of the final thoughts here, I'd really like to see a Goliath update in the Legends line. I got to think that'll be coming sometime. We'll see what happens. But let me know your thoughts, like I said, in the comments down below. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the old notification bells. We got videos every single day. And then some. We got even more content for you on Patreon. Patreon, the best way to support the channel at the end of the day. You can also support the channel at ProWrestlingTees.com. Search Kyle Peterson. And then don't forget social media. Sir Paul64 on the X, _Kyle_Peterson on Threads and on Instagram. So for a little San Diego Comic-Con 2015 Marvel Legends box set, I'm Kyle. See you guys all real soon.